Good evening and welcome to Money Matters. My name is Charlie Huntington and I am the Public Relations Chairperson for the Pennsylvania Biotech Association. Pennsylvania Bio is the statewide industry trade association and the voice of advancement for the bioscience, medical device, healthcare IT, and CRO industries, as well as the pharma industry in Pennsylvania. Tonight we continue our special series on life science leaders in the local community. I want to remind our viewers that from time to time financial issues relating to life sciences, healthcare, or technology matters or companies may be discussed on this show. These discussions are not and should be not viewed as financial advice. Moreover, since this program is pre-recorded and shown at a later date, please keep in mind that this information may no longer be current. You should always check with your financial advisor before entering into any financial transaction. I'm pleased to have with me as my co-host Kimon Hatza. Kimon is a business attorney and partner at MillCrest Law in Radnor, Pennsylvania. His focus is on life science, healthcare, and information technology companies. Welcome, Kimon.
Hi, Charlie. Happy to be here.
Kimon, we have time for a brief question that I'd like to pose to you. Can you tell us about trends that you've seen within the life science space since the last time we were together?
Sure. Actually, if I could just expand the time period a little bit, because I was thinking about that earlier today, and well, two things sort of apropos of tonight's guest and the show. Two trends are personalized care and digital health. When I talk about personalized care, historically, healthcare is kind of a one-size-fits-all, and then a series of trials and errors until a treatment is kind of winnowed down to what a specific patient might need. Personalized care is really a targeted type of treatment that enables a medical practitioner to get a patient closer to something that he or she needs right away. And of course, in order to be able to do that, there's a lot of information that has to be at their disposal. There is money out there, willing to invest in an opportunity that might take, say, a drug or a medical device and integrate it, with low-cost diagnostics, maybe a disease treatment program, and available, clinical advice or guidance. You put those things together in the right way, and it'll be very attractive for investors. We can see shifts going on already in the marketplace, and it's coming faster. The U.S. government, I think, has in its budget this year more than $200 million targeted for personalized care, and I think there's even a program called precision medicine or something like that that really is focusing in on the personalized care area. Another area is digital health. Many life sciences companies now have platforms that enable them to communicate more directly and more easily with patients ultimately, and with other providers within the healthcare system that they could collaborate with. You have telehealth, mobile health, wearable devices that can give up-to-date, information or up-to-the-minute information, and social media, and all those things have helped hasten, digital health. So I would expect that, that trend with digital health and personalized care is going to be coming and continuing to come quickly. The last thing I wanted to talk about was mergers and acquisitions, being an old M&A guy. The last 2 years, there have been a tremendous amount of activity, M&A activity in the life sciences space. And there's a variety of reasons for that, some of them obvious, some of them less so. But, a lot of the activity is driven by, for example, consolidation as a result of increased pricing pressure, companies doing an acquisition because they want to beef up an area that they're focused on in their portfolio, companies trying to replenish a portfolio because products have gone off patent, companies that are looking to do an acquisition to get access to a a new market or an emerging market. Companies looking to buy technology that allows them to lever the assets that they already have and do it in a cost-effective manner. If you look back at the deals over the last 2 years, probably one or more of those issues were present in almost all of them. M&A has always been a huge component of the growth in the life sciences industry, and based on what we've been seeing, I would think that would continue at least into the foreseeable future.
Definitely. Well, 3 great points, and thank you for your observations.
Sure. My pleasure.
Guest, if you would like to send us a question that we will use on an upcoming show, this is how you do it.
You can have your questions answered on Money Matters. Please go to our website, money-matterstv.com. On our homepage, click on the banner on the right that says, Send us your questions. While you're on our website, you can find information about our hosts and guests, as well as show notes and links about this show and past shows. Money Matters is also available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can listen to Money Matters while you're on the go. That website address, again, is money, M-O-N-E-Y, -matters, M-A-T-T-E-R-S, TV.com.
It's with great pleasure this evening that I would like to introduce Rob Dhoble. Rob is CEO of Adherent Health, LLC. He's also the founder of Mobile Health Library, LLC. Prior roles have included President of Diversified Agency Services Healthcare, which is a division of Omnicom Group, President of Acuity Health Group of Omnicom, COO of Torii Laser Worldwide, and Interpublic Group. He also worked in roles of increasing responsibility at Wallace Laboratories, Leaderly Laboratories, and Roar Pharmaceuticals. He was named 2010 Person of the Year by Medical Advertising News. He's on the editorial advisory board for Pharma Executive. He's on the board of directors for Big Tech Private Limited out of Bangalore, India, which is in the infectious disease diagnostic space. That was from 2007 to 2010. He was also director at Helios and Matheson, an IT services company, specifically on their audit and comp committee. And last but not least, Mr. Dhoble has a BA in marketing from Temple University. Rob, welcome to the show.
Charlie, thank you for having me. Kim, and thanks for having me.
Our pleasure.
Rob, tell us what happens when patients don't take their prescribed meds.
Well, it's unfortunate and maybe a bit counterintuitive, right? That patients go to the trouble of going to the doctor, receiving a prescription, getting a diagnosis along the way, and starting a treatment. The challenge is about half of people that start medicine do not take it correctly or do not complete their course of treatment. Who does that cost? Well, an incomplete treatment is very costly. Medicine that's not taken as directed can be dangerous. So when patients don't take their prescribed medicine, I think the economic reality is there's a break in the chain.
All right, so what would you see as a logical solution to the problem?
Well, there's been a lot of research done, and in my prior role, overseeing a group of healthcare communications companies, a variety of methods are used to encourage people consciously and unconsciously to do what they're supposed to do. When you dial it back, you find that oftentimes it's economic. If people cannot afford their medicine or think they can't afford their medicine, they're not likely to take it as they're supposed to, or take it less frequently, things like that. Education. Oftentimes people aren't really in tune with the condition, making them less motivated to treat it. So education can be a key part. Simplicity. To many people, healthcare is complicated. Forms, visits, co-pays, bills in the mail. Complexity can slow down anything. Healthcare is notorious for being complex. So simplification can help, making things simpler. And then finally, feedback. feedback between the doctor and the patient between office visits to let the doctor know or the nurse and pharmacist know how the patient is doing can be monumentally valuable in having somebody stay on treatment and achieve their clinical goals. So the good news is science knows what to do. The challenge is how do you bring those elements together?
Right before we went on camera here, I spent an hour trying to get flight reservations for my wife, who's a nurse, to go down and be with a friend of hers down in Raleigh a month from now. Friend is having back surgery, and there's some concern that she won't understand or be able to interpret the doctor's directives as to, hey, how do you stay on treatment? So
Right.
this couldn't be any more pertinent to my family right now, and I'm sure many of our viewers' families.
You're talking about patient journeys after all, right? Whether it's a surgical journey, a medical journey, a combination with medical devices, somebody with diabetes kind of touches all those spaces. The challenge is we're human, right?
Right.
We talk skinny and we eat fat. You know, that's what. So when people say, "I don't understand," how can 50% of medicine being taken not be taken as directed? Well, the fact there's a lack of education, a lack of simplification, a lack of affordability, and then finally, oftentimes the patient never even comes back to the doctor. How is the doctor supposed to fix that solution when the referral just got them to the specialist, but now they're back to the GP, and that feedback chain can be broken?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Rob, when we were preparing for the show, you mentioned that there are 4 dimensions to patient support.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could discuss that for our viewers.
Yeah. Adherence, if we just focus on adherence, meaning patients taking medicine as they're supposed to and refilling it before it runs out, which everybody's been guilty of waiting till there's one pill in the bottle, right? Adherence is that multifactorial product of the economics, right? Of making complexity go away. I mean, just think about it. A year ago, my wife, to get our rebate from the insurance company, had to keep track of the visits each time to the health plan, to the gym for the health plan. And now there's an automated way that I don't need to go into that just makes it simpler. And what happens? More people participate. So simplification, making it easy, is a key, one of those determinants. Feedback, what did I mean by feedback? Of course, the doctor says, call me if there's a problem, right? But if there's a particular medicine for treating multiple sclerosis, for treating breast cancer, for treating arthritis, the doctor, the insurer, and perhaps the caregiver, in your wife's case, right, needs to know information. And the challenge is, and oftentimes there's a breakdown in that information in terms of how the patient's doing in terms of their mobility for an MS drug, where tools like Fitbits and wearables that you mentioned up front can be key to measuring quality of life and activities of daily living, is the medical term.
So the first one is adherence.
Well, adherence is the overall goal, but the constituents to kind of get there are the simplicity, the affordability, the education, and the feedback.
Got it.
Challenge is, every doctor is a bit of an artist and a scientist. Every doctor does it differently. That's a challenge when it comes to having everybody do the same thing for taking their medicine. So oftentimes it's not through lack of instruction or lack of intention, it's just not connecting. There's kind of a joke that when the doctor is saying, do you understand what I'm saying? People go, yes, 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 yes. And culturally, yes can just mean I'm hearing you.
Right. I don't want to let on that I don't understand a word you're saying, or
and they call that white coat syndrome, right? Where, oh, I forgot to ask the doctor that, or oh, I can't believe I didn't bring that up, or I didn't understand what she was saying. And these 4 things, everyone tries to solve, and that's the challenge. It becomes an overload of complexity The pharmacy says, sign up for our program. The pharmaceutical company says, sign up for our program. The insurance company says, sign up for our program. There's an app somebody gives you that says, oh, you don't need any of that, you just need to do this. Technology can make things more complicated, not less. And I think we're at a crossroads now where there are enough solution models for the pharmaceutical industry to look at outside of itself to say, is there a Facebook type solution for this industry? Is there a LinkedIn type solution? Is there an enterprise system where patients can just get a little bit more consistent briefings? And that's where I've been focusing my time for about the last 4 years.
Well, and to that end, tell us about your company, Adherent Health, and specifically about your mobile health library.
Well, Charlie, thanks. Mobile Health Library is a medication safe use and outcome support system. What does that mean? Everything we just said. It means that a service that can be easily dispensed by a doctor from an app library called Mobile Health Library, where the power of it is with just one app on really any device, an Android, an Apple, or even an Amazon product, a patient can receive the official communication and support covering education and simplicity, feedback and affordability in a way that's privacy protected. And when we did our research in early 2011 with physicians asking them, what do you want in a service that promotes medication safe use and adherence? Their very first requirement was privacy, because they're under those regulations and laws, and they're not allowed to really recommend solutions that aren't HIPAA compliant is really the term. So our service, Mobile Health Library, allows a sponsor for a medicine, a sponsor for a medical device, to provide services that travel through one privacy protected channel that helps patients know what they need to know, helps direct them on what they need to do, and specifically when they need to do it. And depending upon the medicine, all of that activity can be directed back to the prescriber for even more optimal communications with the patient, all while reducing the time for office visits and increasing the likelihood that the patient's going to come back, because data is coming back to the office on how the patient's doing with the medicine.
That's awesome. Can you describe what the benefit would be to Big Pharma? How would Big Pharma use this?
Yeah, and I come from Big Pharma or Little Pharma, and now there's many pharma.
Right.
The pharma company is fantastic at understanding patients, understanding doctors, figuring out the vernacular, the idiom, the syntax, the heuristics of the conversations that need to happen between the doctor and patient. They're also expert at developing advertising that attracts people to that conversation with their doctor. The industry, given their strength in advertising, happens to be not so strong in engaging with patients when they go on the medicine. That's not really through a lack of technology. That's not through a lack of creativity. It's primarily through a lack of trust. And pharmaceutical companies may be the largest unsung heroes, kind of in our economy. Bottom line, they don't have high measures of trust among most Americans for whatever reason. So a lot of their programs go unsubscribed. What our system allows a pharmaceutical company to do is really, through the auspice of the doctor, receive those same resources, enhanced through tools that report feedback to the doctor, as an example, and have more people to participate, and therefore the medicine the doctor's prescribing becomes that much more productive for promoting health. So it's an opportunity. Our clients, we have our 7th client now joining our system. Each of them have resources available for patients separate from our system, but our system is the platform that more and more doctors are recommending patient services from, because primarily of the privacy and also The doctors know that it's the official resource for that medicine. There's no monkey business.
But yet the patient would rather receive this directly from the doctor, or I should say indirectly. From, it's from the pharma company to the doctor to the patient, but that, or we're going to call the doctor a middleman for the time being, if I may. That middleman's important because that middleman has the trust of the patient, and that's a big deal.
Well, you know what? It's fascinating that are they the broker or are they the middleman? Once the decision's been made to prescribe the medicine, advertising stops.
Right.
Okay, there's no more need to advertise. The doctor's call, the insurance company's call, the pharmaceutical company's goal is to have that patient experience the optimal impact of that medicine at the least side effect and the least cost overall. That desire is shared mutually by all those three parties. So who's the middle person? Well, actually, the doctor is the trust broker. The doctor's saying, I want you to use this because it'll help us help you get better faster or stay better or prevent something. There may be programs in our system that patients can opt in directly to. Pharmaceutical companies, our system makes that very convenient. Many patients still participate in those. But if companies are relying upon patients that trust them to carry their numbers, it doesn't compute. And a recent study by Accenture, it was actually middle of last year, worldwide study, found that about 85% of patients that wanted the information on the medicines they were taking wanted to receive it from their doctor. 6% wanted to receive it from their insurance company, and a whopping 1% wanted to receive it from the pharmaceutical company. And just think about it, and I know that hurts the pharmaceutical company's feelings. People have busy lives. They don't know, and many of them don't care who makes the medicine. They just know that the doctor prescribed it for them. Staying in tune with that trust broker in our business is just a continuity of the patient experience. It's not anything unnatural. It's actually what the patient wants.
Can you talk about, in preparing for the show, we talked about how prior authorized drugs would be, what's the phrase? How would they be handled by this app?
It's a great question, Charlie. There's only so much resource to go around, and if you've ever been prescribed a medicine that you had to call your doctor back for because the insurance company said, well, maybe this medicine isn't right for you, maybe you need to go back to your doctor, that's called a drug on either a prior authorization or some type of a restriction. And it's not because the drug's dangerous, it's not because the drug is unusual, but the drug represents a real investment. And it's such a large investment, the insurance company wants to make absolutely sure that you've exhausted all other therapies and find them inadequate before a trial on this medicine, the new one, that the doctor may want you to use. Our system allows the clean flow of feedback back to the doctor. It can also flow all the way back to the insurance company, where the insurance company, which is ultimately the payer of the covered medicine, they'd sure like to know the patient-reported outcomes. And in arthritis, in so many different conditions, there are a variety of tools that can just be surveyed to the patient over the course of their treatment that really fills a dark space in most clinicians' minds of how are patients doing after they leave the office. With prior authorized drugs, the insurance company is watching them too. So feedback on how the patients are doing, are they the right patients? That can only be figured out through feedback from the patient themselves. Coming back for more office visits, that's too much money. Having it remotely come back to the health plan, to the physician, to the nurse, to the pharmacist, for most people, it's like as natural as putting on your shoes in the morning, carrying your mobile device with you. And if you don't have a mobile device, perhaps you're older, and maybe you have a flip phone that people tease you about, chances are you might have a Kindle Fire or a tablet at home. So mobile engagement just isn't about cell phones. And then for the people that aren't internet connected at all, they usually have caregivers if they're fortunate, and most of them have 2 or 3 of these things. So we have the hardware. The hardware is in people's pockets, in people's homes, and systems like Facebook, systems like Uber connect things to create bigger value, and that's our bigger value is safer use and better adherence, and therefore better outcomes for medicine.
Kimon, we probably have time for one more question.
Yeah, and I have a couple I wanted to ask you. Now I'm trying to figure out which one makes the most sense. What would success look like for Adherent Health?
We are really focused on scale use of our system to save money and to deliver outcomes. So success for Adherent Health would be continuing our growth in specialty medicine, in rare disease, where the cost per treatment can be very high. Abuse deterrent pain relievers, the cost of those is very high. Multiple sclerosis medicines, cancer medicines, where patient value is the highest and the need for feedback is the highest. Payers will find out one way or another how the medicine's doing, and unfortunately the burden's on the drug manufacturer to say that they're not a commodity. And without real-world outcomes data, it's hard to do that. So success is when a client's medicine performs and the payer says, maybe that's a preferred medicine.
Mm-hmm. Rob, you've had a tremendous amount of success already, even since we got together with you to describe what we would talk about on the show and get your feedback. Congratulations for the success. Unfortunately, we're out of time, so you're going to have to come back in the future and give us an update on how things are going, if you'd be willing to do it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity of sharing this with you today.
Thanks for joining us. Kimon, as always, you were a great co-host and much appreciate your efforts.
Sure, my pleasure, Charlie.
Our next guest on the show is Brent Byrne. He's from DivvyVest Investors, and he's going to talk about why he likes dividend-paying securities and maybe give you some ideas there. I want to remind our viewers that Money Matters is now available as an Audible podcast on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. It's listed as Money Matters, the podcast for mobile devices. It's also available on YouTube as well as our website. And as always, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.